Hey gang, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Stud Pack Dream House build. In our previous two videos, you saw Jordan, Rad, and I frame the first floor garage. And we're ready to start the second floor framing, but we've got to start with the floor structure first. We can't really start because there's nowhere in the middle to hold that floor up. The engineer specified a W10 by 33, 800 plus pound steel I-beam to support that. We're going to tell you what W10 by 33 means a little bit later, but first we have to get that beam. Now we live less than an hour from the fourth largest city in the United States. So how hard can it be to find a steel I-beam? Well, it took me 2 days online and on the phone to find a company that was willing to sell to the little guy, right? It's on the plans, but Jordan and I have to source it out. We have to go find that thing. And all these companies, they want to make the huge sales, right? They want to do the big malls and hospitals and skyscrapers. One little beam for a few guys building a house, that's scrap to them. But we found an awesome company willing to supply the beam, but they can't deliver it till next week, and July 4th falls in the middle of next week, and we kind of feel like that's going to mess up their schedule and ours. So what do you say, Jordan? I think we need to drive down there and pick it up ourselves today.
But how are we going to pick up a massive 20-foot long, 800-pound steel I-beam? We cannot put that in the back of your F-150,
We cannot. And we can't put it on top of the roof either like we always do.
Right.
So I say we go rent a trailer and go pick that sucker up.
Yep.
Good. To the steel yard.
You got the number here? It's 168332.
Oh. Put that number there.
All right,
Fill
cool.
out all the other information.
Yes, sir. All right.
All three of you guys together?
Yep.
Y'all got a hard hand? Yes?
No.
What do you ask?
Do you have a hard hat?
No. You're awesome.
Right on.
Thank you, sir.
All right, give me a minute. We'll give you a paper and you go back there and get your stuff.
All right. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Picking up some steel. Yeah, this guy in the golf cart said, follow me. So we are. He's bringing us around, everybody. We're going to get our little piece of steel while everybody waits for their big old load. All right, gang, we're all loaded up. Let's head back up to the front office, return our hard hats and our vests, head back home. All right, team, we successfully transported our 800-pound I-beam on a rented trailer an hour out of the heart of downtown Houston on a Friday afternoon. Talk about a mission. But now we got another one. It is 4:30 on Friday afternoon. We got to get this trailer back by 5, so that means we got to get the beam off the trailer pronto. And I don't know how we're going to do it, dude.
Now what?
Now what? I'm gonna go return the trailer. See y'all tomorrow.
There he goes.
All right, gang, it is the next day and our steel is on site. Super excited about that. It's a big part of our puzzle. Now, when Jordan got in the truck at the steel yard with the receipt from the steel, he also had a big old manila envelope like that thick. I said, what is that? He said, I don't know. So he opens it up and turns out it was basically the birth certificate for this I-beam. Where it was made, when it was made, the port it left out of, what ship it was on, the port it arrived in, when, and also the chemical composition of the steel in that very beam. Pretty crazy, and I guess a lot of job sites require that information, and we're certainly going to have it in case our inspector asks. Now, I already told you it came in on a ship, so you know it was imported, which kind of bummed us out. It was made in Spain, but we were really hoping to see a big U.S. steel stamp on there, or made in the USA, but it is what it is, and we're going to move forward. Now, these are called the flanges, and this is called the web. Now, on an I-beam, we've all seen these, right, on construction sites. The flanges start out thinner out here, but they get thicker as they approach the web. They're actually tapered. So I bought these tapered washers to account for that so that the nut sat flat on the I-beam and it wasn't like at an angle. But I don't need those because this is the consistent thickness throughout. So to me, this is an H-beam, and that's what we're going to call it from here on out. Y'all got that? This is now an H-beam, not an I-beam.
Got it.
Now, early in the video, we mentioned that this was a W10 by 33. What does that mean? Well, it means it's 10 inches tall. Well, almost. I guess just like a 2x8 is almost 2x8, right? So 10 inches tall. But what does the 33 mean? So there's not a dimension here that's 33. 33 is actually the weight. It's the weight of this beam per linear foot. This is a 24-foot beam, 24 times 33, 792 pounds. So we have our steel H-beam, but we have a wooden garage. Steel and wood really don't play nice together. We have to modify this steel H-beam so that it plays nice with our big pile of wood. How are we going to do that? Let's show you. So there are two very important details in our plans about this steel H-beam. The first one is it must be wrapped in 1/2-inch drywall, and that's for fireproofing. But how do you attach 1/2-inch drywall to this massive steel beam? Well, you really can't. So you need a nailer. So we're going to bolt a 2x12, or maybe we'll rip it down a little bit, on the top and the bottom. That will allow us to put drywall on the sides, the bottom, and up on this side, and completely encase it in drywall. And the second thing we got to do, we got to attach our second floor flooring system to this. It's 2x12s. I got a 2x8 here just to show you. It's going to sit on top of that nailer, and that's going to allow us to do a couple of things. We can easily get in here on the top and put some toenails into the nailer to hold this down. But what I'm really after is this little overhang. That's going to allow us to get a screw right in here and screw it into the joist and really prevent any uplift in case a storm comes along, really gets in that garage and tries to lift the floor off of our I-beam. It's never going to happen. So that's what our plans do tell us about this beam. What they don't tell us is how to support each end. You might assume, since it's steel, that we would have to have a steel post under each end, but that would add costs and a significant amount of wait time while that thing's being fabricated. So this is just one of those things where the framers have to figure it out. Hey, that's us, guys. We get to figure it out. Woo. So it's going to be one of those classic situations where you have a massive beam, in our case 800 pounds, being held up by something that weighs 1% of that. Right, that's about 8 pounds, huh?
Feels like 8.
So let's make this piece of steel so it plays nice with the wood. We're ready to bolt this on. Remember, our flange is 8 inches. We want an overhang, so we're going to use a 2x12 since we have plenty of them. And that gives us a 1 5/8 inch overhang on either side. Plenty enough for that screw to come in and grab our joist and make it really strong. So let's get rid of this, lay out our steel for all our holes. We'll center punch them, drill them, and attach the bottom first. Flip it over so it's in the right orientation, and then attach the top. All right, guys, we're drilling our holes right now. We try to do one off camera first, get our process down before we show you on camera, but we ran into a little bit of a problem. I'm drilling a pilot hole down there with the cordless, and believe it or not, it's going through pretty quick. But we're following it up with a bigger bit. Now, I bought these awesome 9/16 bit from a Master Car because we're using a 1/2 inch carriage bolt. But the shank is also 9/16. I wasn't thinking ahead. I should have got a turned down shank because this won't fit in my good old 1/2 inch right angle DeWalt drill. So the only way I know of to accomplish this today is to grind some flats on here so I can get this bit in that drill and we can keep going. You ready to do some grinding, boys?
Do it.
All right. How's that look?
That's really good.
All right, 5 more times. I don't know if we have any machinists that are watching our channels, but if you are, I know you're cringing, and to be honest, I'm cringing a little bit too, but this is what we gotta do to get this job done. All right, let's see how it looks. All right, there we go, all 6 sides. Not too bad for a guy using the I-beam as his work table and Rad's foot as a vise. And yeah, I've done that before, but sometimes when you're out in the middle of an oil field, you gotta make it work. Let's see if it fits. Just barely, maybe a little more.
Jeez. Can you tap it with the hammer?
Or a block.
Yeah.
What do you think, guys?
I think it's great.
I like it.
All right,
Yeah.
let's tighten it up and try it. All right, here's our process. X marks the spot, 4 feet apart, and we're staggering them. So 1 on this side, 1 on that side, come back. Nice center punch, ball peen hammer, boom. And believe it or not, this cordless drill is doing fine drilling through this almost, what is that? That's probably 3/8 of an inch. And we're using our good old Anchor Lube right here for lubrication. This is water-based, so we're not gonna make an oily mess. I'm gonna get my bit centered right there in my punch, lube it up, and here we go. That easy. All right, now it's Rad's turn. We got the 9/16 custom modified bit in our right angle drill. He's gonna finish it off. Nice job. All right, guys, now I know they make a magnetic drill press. I really wanted to go rent one just to show you, but Jordan didn't want to pay the money for it. And this is working fine, so we're just gonna muscle through it, drill the rest of our holes, and bolt on our nailers. All right, got all our holes drilled in the board and they all lined up great. All we did was got a pin right here, marked it through the hole in our I-beam, flipped it over, drilled it, put it back. Now we're using a carriage bolt to tie all this together. This is a carriage bolt. It's got a square shoulder under the head. So when you pound it down, that square shoulder locks into the grain of the wood and the bolt won't spin while you tighten the nut. Then a little U-joint plus an extension, home free. All right, guys, our bottom nailer is on, and yeah, the carriage bolt head is sticking up a little bit, but when we get the drywall on there, we'll put a block on there, pound it or whatever. It'll be fine. It's just Jordan's garage. It'll be okay. So now we're gonna flip this over. We'll put our bolts a little bit closer because that's really where all our load is, and this guy is almost ready. All right, guys, our H-beam is modified and ready to go, and it truly is an H-beam now. H for hybrid, a hybrid of wood and steel. Look at that guy, probably closer to 900 pounds now with the addition of all these 2x12s. Now, we did one last step to help us tomorrow during the lift. See these 2 holes right here? What's gonna happen, imagine this is the top plate on that partition wall we built in the garage. We're gonna lift this up till it hits the top plate right there, drill from underneath and put the same carriage bolt here and here to help us hold it into position. One of many ways that we're going to support this beam. Now this nailer is exactly the same length as the distance between the interior of our 2x4 partition wall and the interior of our 2x6 exterior wall. So once it's in place, it's going to guarantee that those 2 walls are parallel. Now that side's a 2x4 and this side is a 2x6 wall, and we accounted for that when we laid it all out. Let's see how we did. Nice. Look at that. We are ready to go with this beam. So we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning where we're going to attempt to lift this 900-pound massive H-beam into its final home. All right, guys, it's the next day. Can't wait to install this beam today. Now, the guy who's going to lift this for us put us off a couple hours, but no big deal. But we're going to take advantage of that time and do as much prep work as we can. So I think I want to build the stud pack that's going to hold up the beam right here. Now, our beam is basically 8 inches wide. So if I put in 5 2x4s here, they're 1.5 inches thick. 5 times 1.5 is 7.5 inches, so we're short by 1/2 inch. And it just so happens the good folks over at Builders First Source sent us 2 sheets of 1/2 inch plywood. So I pulled out my table saw. We're going to make some strips and build our stud packs. And since our 2x4 is 3.5 inches wide, that's what we're making our rip to. And since the other stud pack is made up of 2x6s, we need a couple strips at 5.5. I need 2 filler strips on our plywood because it's only 8 foot long and we got a 10-foot wall. So what we're going to do, we're just going to build this on the ground first. And instead of cutting each one of these to length and then cutting these to length and trying to get all the ends to match, we're just going to put them all together, make 2 cuts, 1 on each end so they're nice and flush and the perfect length. All right, here's our boy. I think we're out of time, guys. All right, guys, Doug is ready to put the beam in. He's gonna have to kind of thread it like threading a needle, so he's probably gonna put this end in first and then go that way. So we took the studs out that we think might be in our way, and then we're gonna fill all that in, of course, with that massive stud pack and a couple of kings on either side. So basically, this is gonna be full of wood right here, holding up that 900-pound beam. All right, let's get out of his way and bring that thing into the garage. Yeah, do whatever you gotta do so you can see. So trying to work this thing back and forth on the forks is not going to work. So we're just going to lift it and then we can swing it and get in here. It's going to be much easier. Look at that balance. Tell me when you're clear, Rad. Yep. Doug wants to lift from here instead of the forks, so we're just moving the chains a little bit. I think I'm gonna just go and do that. Will that work? Let's try that, Doug. You're on your track right here. Just watch that. So that was a little too close to the machine, so we're going to put it back on our forks. All right, try that, Doug. All right, we're gonna go into that opening and forward. and back that way.
Cool.
You're good. Keep going. There we go.
All right.
Oh man.
Whoa,
Oh,
go,
too
go
much.
back to the right a little bit.
An inch to the right.
Yep.
Okay. Now go forward, Doug.
Make that work. Am I right in the middle of this?
Yeah,
Rad's looking good.
I think that's pretty good.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're about ready to lift that beam into its final home for the rest of its life. So I'm just trying to get everything that I possibly need while I'm up on the ladder. Got 2 bolts, 2 nuts, got my drill, my impact, and then we're gonna put a ledger under it with a bunch of structural screws just to hold it in place. Belts and suspenders, if you will, until we get our stud pack in. That way he's not waiting on us all day. All right, let me get these tools, grab the ladder, and let's lift that beam. Yeah. Rotate forward a little bit. A little more. All right, up. All right, let me go see how it looks.
Drop that wall. Hang on.
Sweet. All right, guys, here's the situation up here. We previously marked the center line of the beam, and these are the edges of the I-beam flange. These 2 marks are the centers of these 2 1/2-inch holes that we're gonna bolt through right here. And these 2 lines is the other center. When I intersect that line with that line, X marks the spot. I'm just gonna eyeball it. All right, Doug, let's lift this side, and then we're ready to bolt this one up. We're good.
Boom.
Doug, can you pull forward a little bit? You want to get this 1 5/8 from there. Another 1/8. That's pretty solid, guys. You like that?
I love it.
I like it. Nailed it.
Wow.
Wow, what do you mean? You're not impressed? I mean, you're impressed? Love it. All right, let's put our ledger under, and he can lower the forks. All right, we're just gonna level this ledger so we're not fighting the beam later. All right, I like that, Rad.
You like that?
Yep. So the 2 bolts through the top plate is our belt, and this is our suspenders until we get our stud pack in. You're good. Yeah. Everybody feel good about that?
Really good.
All right, you ready to lower those forks? Check it out, guys. There's our beam way up in the sky. I feel like that was as big a step as just the slab or just all the walls. Can't believe we got that lift here this morning, Jordan. That guy was awesome. And a massive shout out to Doug with the skid steer and the forks. He even put the bucket on later and graded this for us. So while we're outside working, got all the tools set up, let's cut our stud packs and put them underside each beam. Now, as you can see, we already got this one nailed together. 5 2x6s and a piece of 1/2-inch plywood in between, and it pulls out to 8 inches the width of our beam, so that's perfect. So we just built the whole thing, and now we're going to cut it square on one end and then cut it to length. That way it's nice and even top and bottom. here's our first stud pack. I'm gonna go through the wall, put my end down low on the dirt. And Rad's gonna stand it up. Gotta trim some trees, guys. There we go.
Nice.
Nice.
All right, now we can get that sledge.
That's why I needed the sledge. All right, you just hold it, bud.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that was easy.
There she is.
And there is our 2x6 stud pack holding up one end of that 900-pound beam. So between my thumbs is the stud pack we built on the ground, and we trimmed it to length. See our plywood spacer? We put a full-length stud on either side, structural screws into our stud pack, plus nailed it off. Really loving the way that whole thing worked out. The plan came together. So let's grab our 2x4s now and build one for the other side. And then I think it's time for the floor, guys. But not today, guys. It's the 4th of July. We got fireworks tonight. And there we go, team, just like that, 2 stud packs holding up our massive 24-foot long, 900-pound H-beam for the Stud Pack Dream Garage. Huge shout out to Doug for coming over here with his skid steer, lifting that guy into place. Give him a big W, Doug. Thanks, Doug, in the comments below. Absolutely epic. Speaking of thanks, another big shout out to Builders First Source for the lumber package for the garage. It is absolutely awesome, as well as all the team at Incel Steel. Thanks for handling our one little beam when I know you guys are dealing with thousands of beams on one project and millions of dollars. That one beam for $600 may have made somebody's month over there at accounting. And also a big thank you to all of you for 14,000 likes on the previous video. That is absolutely nuts, and it gives us the strength to keep going on the next videos. So modify yourself a like button so it's an H-beam and that thing is well supported. Then give it a big smash for us. Please subscribe. Give us some of your awesome comments and your awesome questions, and we'll see you right here on the very next Stud Pack Dream House video.